Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Ryan. I'm a former commando from the Royal Marines. Today we've got an update for Ukraine. Guys, welcome to the channel. If you're brand new here, please like, share and subscribe to the channel and support me through Patreon. Link is in the description. Guys, welcome. So today we've got a few things we're going to get through. We're going to go through a map study. We're going to go through the ISW, Institute of Study of War. We've got a few news articles we want to go through as well, guys. So get a cup of coffee or beer, whatever you like, and relax, troops. Let's get into it. So first thing I want to go through is the Russian offensive campaign assessment pertaining to the 21st of February. Guys, we've got a different approach slightly to these updates. I want to keep it, pretty relaxed how we do it and draw a conversation out. So feel free to draw comments in the comment section below based on your opinions of what we're speaking about. So now, Russian President Vladimir Putin's February 21st address to the Russian Federal Assembly did not articulate specific goals or intentions for the war in Ukraine, instead reinforcing several long-standing rhetorical lines in an effort to buy Putin more space and time for a protracted war. So what we're taking from that is he's not going to give too much away. That's something that you'd expect anyway with a leader such as President Putin. He's not really going to give that much away in terms of what he aims to do, X, Y, and Z. His aims have been clear from day one in terms of how he operated himself when he said that this war was going to be a specialist operation. He said that he wasn't going to invade, all of this kind of rhetoric, all right? It hasn't really changed too much with him. So I'm not too surprised on that. But Putin also claimed that Russia began the special military operation in Ukraine a year ago in order to protect people in Russia's historical lands. So this is a land thing. It's always been land in wars, guys, all right? Or is it an easy excuse to, sway the people's minds with, the whole land grab thing and make it seem a little bit more of a realistic achievement in terms of a goal, for instance, if Russia wanted to go and invade land, well, it's to take historical land, hoping that people think it's better, all right, just because of the phrase land grab historical lands. It sounds better when in actual fact there's been many people saying it's ethnic cleansing and he's exercising his rights to, invade a country because he can. It's a power thing, all right? We've seen through the ages we'll use the historic land thing as an excuse to just invade and do nasty things, okay? That's how it goes. Now, the rest of that article is saying that ensuring Russia's domestic security, you can understand that to a degree. Now, remedy the threat posted by the Ukrainian neo-Nazi regime he claimed has been in place since 2014. I see a lot of these comments on my channel. I'm not going to post my thoughts and feelings on this, but there's a lot of talk of this back and forth on the channel, and I'll be honest, I don't really know enough about this whole problem to be able to actively comment on it, but it is alive and kicking in the comment section, and not just on my channel. I see this in many different channels, guys, this whole neo-Nazi regime thing in Ukraine. I'd like you to comment on that, what your thoughts and feelings are below, because it's something that gets, spoken about quite regular. So if something gets spoken about enough, surely that's, well, we should at least open up the conversation regarding that. Okay, there's something there. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Since 2014, and protect the peoples of Donbass, Putin virulently accused the collective West of arming Ukraine and deploying bases and biolabs close to Russian borders, thereby unleashing the war on Russia. There's talks about these biolabs as well. There's talks about them being conspiracy related. I don't know what to make of the biolabs, what their intentions are. There's biolabs all over the world, guys. Whether or not he's trying to say that that's a bad thing, the intention of these biolabs are, I don't know. Now, Putin falsely analyzed the Ukrainian armed forces with various Nazi divisions and thanked the Russian armed forces for their efforts in fighting the Nazi threat. The emphasis on a significant portion of the speech was on the supposed resilience of the Russian economical, social, and cultural spheres, and Putin made several recommendations for the development of occupied territories in Ukraine. Again, he's emphasizing this whole Nazi rhetoric. Now, Putin's speech notably re-engaged the several long-standing Russian information operations regarding the justifications of the war, did not present an inflection in Russia's rhetorical positioning in the war. Putin could have used the event to articulate how new objectives and means for achieving them, such as announcing another formal wave of partial mobilization, redefining the special military operation as an official war. Well, guys, I don't think he would have used that to realign or redefine the special military operation as an official war, because that does change things. It allows other countries to get more actively involved. All right, special military operation is defined that way because it allows him very few but certain provisions to be in place, and it allows him time, to stop other countries potentially getting involved. I'm not saying NATO couldn't get involved if they wanted to, even though NATO there's certain rules and regulations of countries, obviously, who are in NATO to be protected by X, Y, and Z. But the special military operation does allow them a little bit of leeway and a little bit of time in regards of what they can and can't do with other countries not getting involved as such, okay? So hopefully that clears that up. Or taking additional steps to mobilize the Russian defense industrial base in a more concrete way. Instead, Putin said very little of actual substance, likely in order to set continued information conditions for a protracted war in Ukraine by not articulating specific temporal goals and framing the war as an existential to the Russian domestic population. So, that being said, let's look at the map in terms of what's been happening. If you zoom out here, obviously you can see the oblasts there, quite a lot of land taken still by Russia and currently occupied. We've seen the initial massive counteroffensive, okay, from Kiev onwards and Kharkiv, rightwards of that, eastwards, loads of land taken there. And again, troops, unfortunately, not too much to let you guys know about. The only things that have been taking place is mistakes on the map that have been made over the past few days. These are due to inaccuracies of information on the ground. So if there's no information, sometimes the information come out, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. Those inaccuracies will be adjusted accordingly. As we can see, we've got a little bit of an adjustment here and here. But those areas in particular, in terms of significance, don't really offer much significance. These are effectively what we would class as front lines, where there's going to be different trench systems in place, going to be different troops bunkering down in fields, in wood blocks, in built-up areas. You see there's a lot of farmers' fields here. There's certain settlements and stuff in which the enemy is well situ and defending. And again, we come down to Bakhmut. This area hasn't really changed too much in the past few days in terms of lines where the enemy is expected to go X, Y, and Z, although we see a slight adjustment to the north of Bakhmut in this little settlement here. Is it significant enough to be able to talk about it? Not really. I mean, we can see that the enemy is potentially encroaching on this line here, this road system just northwards of Yerin. Not really too significant, if you ask me. Although any slight advance to Bakhmut could be defined as significant, but this area in question is an area that hasn't really changed too much in terms of the enemy's position, in terms of Ukraine's position. So we're not going to speak too much more on that. Troops. I want to look at this though, the different map, live UAE. So in terms of that, let's go in and around the Bakhmut area and see what's been going on within the past day. So the only thing we've got really is President Biden news articles. So this one is from 7 hours ago, for instance. President Joe Biden reaffirms U.S. commitment to NATO whilst meeting leaders of Bucharest. So he was in, I mean, that's coming from Warsaw, guys. That's not even relevant in terms of the map location. We've got explosions were reported in Slavyansk. When was that? So this was about 13, 14 hours ago. We've seen those missiles was striking near Slavyansk, and missiles were also launched in Belgorod as well. So if we look at that, it's obviously a slightly different location. These areas here has still been artillery strike, missile strike every single day. So although the lines aren't really changing too much, guys, there's still fighting actively ongoing across the whole of this front line. You can see here annotated all of these different events. Scrolling down, all of these events have taken place pretty much within the last day or so. So be rest assured these lines aren't changing too much, but there's still fighting and still a lot of stuff happening every single day over here. Okay, guys? Real lives affected every single day. which is horrendous when we think about it, guys. We've become normalized to the whole situation over Ukraine, okay, which is not really great when we think about it, all right? I like to look at this from the people's view, all right? There's people over there suffering every single day. That's the part that gets me, all right? You know, we fight wars in the modern world based on, effectively, you know, one person's decision. And that's the person who's in charge of the country. Yeah, there's people involved in the election processes and people involved in the decision-making processes, but it's one person, effectively, that all of these people are dying for. That's the bit that really gets me. I've never quite understood that with politics, guys. Kyiv Independent, then. What do we got? Well, Ukraine war latest. Ukraine to boost security ahead of full-scale war's 1-year mark. Okay, so February 22nd, key developments. According to this, is Russian attack on Kherson Oblast kills 2. Parts of Ukraine will heighten security ahead of February 24th. Spain will give 6 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Tanks are massive at this moment in time in Ukraine, guys, okay? China's top diplomat visits Moscow, meets with Putin. We've been speaking about China on our latest few videos in terms of their position in the war. And there's talks that they may be wanting to support Russia with more lethal infrastructure in terms of kit and equipment and the larger stuff as well, which could deeply affect the relations with the West. Now, how does it affect the West? Directly, well, directly trade would be a problem because it's going to put tensions on trade, and we rely on China for a lot of trade, all right? There's a lot of, we're not just talking about our pots and pans and cups and stuff like that. We're talking about more sophisticated technologies as well that would affect entire industries, okay? But one thing's for sure, we do have the means in America and in other countries to be able to develop and replicate those things that we would need. So, yeah, short term it would affect us, but long term I think it would affect China more if they deepen their commitment to Russia in this fact, okay? That's just my personal opinion. Again, we do get things wrong sometimes, but sometimes we get these things right. That's just my opinion. Now, Ukrainian authorities announced that parts of the country would strengthen security measures this week, days ahead of one of the anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. Now, Zelensky earlier this month warned that Russia plots a revenge attack for last year's defeat and is planning to do something symbolic. I don't know why he would say that and how he would get the information for that. There was talks of a false flag operation being planned. And again, that's not my opinion. That's just what we've been reading. We've mentioned this. So, yeah, I always think twice before commenting on these such things, especially when they're not really given any substance to that. Okay, it's just a statement. All right, earlier this month, warned that Russia plots a revenge attack for last year's defeat and is planning to do something symbolic. What could that be? Not really giving us much information there, guys. So we have to be careful what we think of that. Now, extra safety measures will be implemented in Ukraine's southern Kherson Oblast, the region's military administration said on the 22nd. From the 23rd to the 5th, most public offices and buildings will work remotely apart from critical infrastructure facilities, the administration said, citing possible escalation of hostilities by the enemy. Hopefully not. Also, the distribution of humanitarian aid and cash payments at post offices will be limited, and the police will intensify protocols in place of possible crowd gathering, the administration added. However, the invincibility points specifically especially equipped places where Ukrainians can charge their phones, warm up, and the access to the internet and mobile networks for free will work around the clock. So that's good, guys. It means that we can keep things moving, even if you haven't got, you know, the best of environment to do it in. They're starting to work around these problems now. Last time we've seen that some of the infrastructure that was hit meant that people couldn't work from home, people couldn't use their phones, people couldn't even charge them. Now they're putting in provisions to enable Ukraine to still work should they be hit in certain places at certain times, okay? And that's just a contingency plan. These contingency battle plans should be in place anyway, but guess what, guys? It's been a long time since a major developed modern city and a modern country, in fact, has been invaded, all right? This is the new age of war, and for the first time ever, we've had problems, you know, such as like internet and mobile phone charging, all right? It wasn't really that much of a problem in Afghanistan for the people there because a lot of the infrastructure wasn't really heavily reliant on it, okay? Put it that way. Ukraine is a different story. He says, we urge you to take care of your own safety and the safety of your family during this period, the administration says. Okay, I mean, that urge of caution on safety should really be in place throughout the whole year, all right? That shouldn't be a new development. Now, Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, just some 30 kilometers south of the Russian border, also imposes additional security measures. Mayor said, security measures will certainly be strengthened. A lot of people are asking whether they should go to work or not. I told my colleagues that those who find it difficult, those who are afraid, may stay at home and work remotely. That's going to be a lot of people, guys. A lot of people are afraid in Ukraine at this moment in time. All right, a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are scared. The fact that they're still that shouldn't even be argued if they can work from home or not. Okay. Thing is, with the area that we just talked there, Kharkiv, it's very north to Russia's Russian northern border. Okay. Belarus is becoming an increasing threat. You just have to read the news articles on that. And Belarus is no pushover. They've got a good military, all right? They've got good fighters there. They're organized. They're capable. And if pushed, if given the right direction from Russia, prepared to probably come across that border, okay? So that's... Kharkiv's, it's a bit of a dangerous place just because of its geographic location. 30 kilometers is nothing to be that close to the border. It's nothing, all right? We've got specialized troops within Belarus who quite happily walk that, okay? Walk that and fight at the end of it as well, okay? It's not out of their capabilities at all. So that's worrying. Now, attacks and casualties. This is the bad bit then, troops. Now, Kherson Oblast has been the target of persistent Russian attacks since the region capital of Kherson was liberated in November 22. Seems like a million miles away now, guys. That seems like a long time ago we were talking about this on the channel. Now, the attacks have been particularly focused on areas located on the western bank of Dnipro River. After being expelled to the river's east bank, Russian forces have continued to bombard villages and cities in the region. The shelling of the villages of Novtyanka on February 22nd killed an 81-year-old woman. This is terrible. And a 68-year-old man on the spot. Alexander Prudkin, head of Regional Military Administration, reported. So there's old people. It's difficult with old people. It's difficult with kids, really. It's difficult with anyone. Now, the previous day, Kherson was shelled by Russian troops, while Russian President Vladimir Putin was giving a speech to the Russian political elite about how they are not at war with the people of Ukraine. This is crazy, So that's the bit that really angers me a little bit, pisses me off. He was giving a speech and he's trying to reiterate that they're not at war with the people of Ukraine. Okay, well, explain to me all the deaths and stuff. You can phrase it how you want. It's wrong, it's barbaric, it's crazy, it's war. These are acts of war. What is it if it's not? It's not a special operation. We know that now. Special military operations don't involve the killing of innocent people, don't involve the collateral damage of buildings, the destruction of infrastructure, the taking out of entire individuals' families, all right? Taking men out of the gene pool, great men out of the gene pool, taking kids' lives away from them, taking people's futures away from them, taking their education away from them, destroying the land in which they were brought up, memories of where they were brought up. All of these things are absolutely hideous, okay? Don't say it's not a war. This is war, and this is the result of war. 6 people waiting at a bus stop were killed and 12 were injured. Kharkiv has also been under constant attacks by Russian troops. On February 22nd, the Russians used 300 missile system to strike the city, according to the Air Force spokesman Yuri Isnat. The S-300 missile hit infrastructure facilities in Kharkiv, and 2 men were hospitalized with injuries, governor said. So we've already talked about Spain will give 6 Leopard tanks to the Ukraine. This is going to be massive in terms of helping Ukraine and supporting them out. But meanwhile, Ukraine's allies continue to step up their support ahead of planned spring counteroffensives. On February 22nd, Spain announced it joined a growing coalition of Western countries supplying tanks to Ukraine. Tanks then, guys, it's not really my speciality. Being a Marine, I was certainly involved in certain elements of mechanized capabilities that we had, the limited mechanized capabilities that we had. But tanks are very, very important, all right? You need tanks to beat tanks. Yes, you can have anti-tank men and women on the ground. supporting the infanteers and trying to get rid as best you can these tanks off the ground. But better tanks beat worse tanks, so you need them, and it's good to have these dominating the land. You can dominate a lot of land, and in support of infanteers who know exactly what they're doing in and around these tanks, you can be very, very effective in many different environments, whether that's open sporadic fields, whether that's sparse land, whether that's dense forests and wood blocks, whether that's villages and towns and cities. These can be very, very good if you want to if you want to spring on people attacks. All right, they can be very, very good. And when I've worked alongside these things in America, they are very effective for what they do. Okay, and you don't need as much manpower on the ground if you want to, for instance, go and clear a wood block. Take a tank with you, take a couple of sections of men, go for it. All right. It works really well. These things are fantastic, so it's going to help out Ukraine an awful lot. Now, Spanish Defense Minister Margarita Robles confirmed that the transfer of 6 renovated Leopard 2 A4 main battle tanks, adding that the goal is to have the tanks in Ukraine by the end of March or early April. Still, I would like to see that sped up a lot, guys, okay? Now, the announcement came after Poland's foreign ministry said on the February 21st that the country will provide Ukraine with 14 Leopard 2 tanks in the next 2-3 weeks after Ukrainian troops complete their training. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell made an appeal on February 15th to the countries with modern tanks that are just standing and covered with dust to send them to Ukraine as fast as possible, adding that the spring and summer of 23 would be decisive for the outcome of Russia's war against Ukraine. Okay, so I do agree with that, but we need to be a little bit cautious of how much of our infrastructure we're giving. Okay, countries like England, for instance, we haven't got as much, haven't got that much infrastructure. We haven't got that much military kit and equipment to be able to dish out. Certainly not in a position to give a kit when we're actually undermanned ourselves, and we're in a pretty bad position as England. All right, we don't want to leave ourselves short for any repercussions if Russia was to decide to act upon our lack of armament. Okay, we need to be careful. America goes without saying, they've got a lot of kit and equipment, guys. Okay, so they're doing a lot of the job, most of the job at this moment in time. Now, on the same day, NATO members made new commitments to step up the support of Ukraine with heavy equipment and military training. According to Ukraine's military intelligence, by March, Russia aims to occupy the entire Donbass, an industrial heartland of East Ukraine. We can't have that. About half of Donetsk Oblast and nearly all of Luhansk is currently under Russian control. So that's their aims. And yeah, I think the key to this is the support that's needed in ahead of any counteroffensive. Russia is to counter-effect Russia, we're going to need a lot more infrastructure, military kit and equipment in Ukraine. From what I'm gathering, a lot of that is going to be tanks. Okay, so do you see a lot more support in the coming months to hopefully change the sway of things in Ukraine at this moment in time for summer? Maybe so. I can see countries donating a lot more tanks and stuff. But how long is the support going to last, guys, before it runs out of steam? I'll leave that one with you. But that one draws this to a close, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're brand new here, please consider subscribing. Like the video as always. Drop a comment below for the algorithm. And please share this video far and wide. Other than that, I will see you next time, friends. Take it easy. Bye-bye.